Art Talk Rewind, a podcast series by Luxembourg Art Week. This series revisits the art talks that took place at the fair, where partners and guests explored key questions shaping contemporary artistic creation and the art market. Episode 1: Celebrating 20 years of the Edward Steichen Award. 2 decades of nurturing artistic legacy and innovation through residencies, in collaboration with the Edward Steichen Award Luxembourg.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on time and interested in this talk. It's lovely to have you all with us. And we are, of course, going to talk about celebrating 20 years of the Edward Steichen Award. 2 decades of nurturing artistic legacy and innovation through residencies, with a real focus on residencies. And as you can see behind me here on the screen, I have Susan Hapgood, who is the director of ISCP, the International Studio and Curatorial Program in New York. So thank you, Susan, for joining us in your early morning over there. It's lovely to have you. Also here, I have right next to me, Nika Schmidt, who was the Edward Steichen Luxembourg resident in New York in 2022. She stayed there from September to December in 23. She won the award in 22, stayed there in 23. I have, of course, Françoise Pousse, who is the chair of the board of the Edward Steichen Award organization. Anoa Ashitegui, who is the director at Neumünster, and a very recent awardee, Marianne Villiers, who is the winner of this award. And she won it just a few weeks ago, and she will be going to New York next year. So welcome to the whole panel. Now, Françoise, I have to start with you. First of all, for anybody in our audience here or who are listening beyond the walls of this art exhibition currently, what is the Edward Steichen Award?
So the Edward Steichen Award is, as the name says, an award. It's a contemporary art prize, and the prize consists of a residency in New York at ISCP, so the International Studio and Curatorial Program, which is a residency space for artists and curators that we're going to hear more about with Susan. So we had the idea, or the idea was born. I didn't have the idea. I wasn't part of the association back then. But Hubert Wirth, who's a diplomat, had the idea 20 years ago, or a bit more than 20 years ago, to connect Luxembourg with the heritage of Edward Steichen. Most of you may know Edward Steichen. He was a very famous photographer, born in Luxembourg, emigrated to the United States at a very, very early age. Realized what one could call an American dream career. I mean, he came from, was the immigrant boy, and he became one of the most important artist curators. And I guess today one would say also influences in photography to shape the world of photography, but also of contemporary art, building bridges between the United States and Europe as well. And it was the idea of building these bridges, making it possible for young artists in Luxembourg, but also from the greater region around Luxembourg, to step in to follow in Edward Steichen's footsteps, and to have the same experience that he could have by immersing themselves in the ebullient cultural context of New York.
And moving to New York, I know, Susan, you're right there now, and you have this collaboration with Luxembourg. I know you've been to Luxembourg yourself. And so could you tell us about the program that you lead?
Sure. So ISCP has actually 2 programs. It has the international program, which the Edward Steichen Award Luxembourg is part of. And we also have the ground floor program, which is much smaller, for New York-based artists. But the international program is what I'll talk about mostly. It is, we bring artists and curators from around the world. Actually, if you could go to the next slide and click the video. This is an image of the building that we are in. We do not take up that whole building, and we do not own that building. We rent in that building. It is an old printing factory. We are on 3 different floors with 35 studios. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. We have residents who have come to us from over 105 countries to date, and we have about 100 residents per year. We are in, as you can see, a very gritty industrial neighborhood of Brooklyn, which is about 30 minutes by subway from Midtown Manhattan. And if you could go to the next slide. So here's what we provide. This is our sort of official list, but informally, I'll just mention the ones that are the most important. Most important is the visiting critics part of the program. We have once a month. Each resident can choose between two different professionals who are coming to visit, and they spend 1 hour with the artist or curator in their studio or workspace, one-on-one meetings. In their workspace, they are generally making art. Sometimes they're not making art. Sometimes they are thinking and studying and researching. We do not force anyone to produce per se, but they do have their own private, fairly nice space for New York City. As you know, city spaces are very hard to come by, and we have high ceilings and we have natural light in most of the studios. We also take, so our staff organizes the benefits for the residents, so that the visiting critics is number one. We also organize field trips every month, sometimes twice a month, to go to all sorts of things that we know are happening in the city, with behind the scenes tours or somebody giving a talk, opportunities for people to introduce themselves in those field trips as well. Very importantly, we organize social gatherings regularly because we know that the residents sometimes can be shy, and we know that we need to help them get to know one another. And the size of the cohort is fairly large. We also have talks twice a month. We have a lounge and it's a public gathering area where people can give talks, and we encourage the residents to do that as soon as they're comfortable, because that also forges much more connections and ties in the neighborhood. We have open studios. We have formal open studios in the spring and fall, and then we have a sort of informal summer open house. And we have 2 gallery spaces with exhibitions in them throughout the year as well. So officially, the residency is time and space. It is room to make mistakes, room to experiment, room to step outside one's comfort zone. We have connections with other institutions as well. There are, they have the opportunity to go and have a number of free hours at the Robert Blackburn Printmakers Workshop. We have, as I said, we're in an industrial neighborhood. So if people have specific needs, which many artists do, ceramics or welding, or we do not have big workshops, which some residencies in the world do, but we are surrounded by all sorts of facilities, and we can guide people to what they need. We do ask that the residents spend 20 hours a week at ISCP, because that sort of germinating environment is something that we encourage. And in our space where we have the talks is a lounge with a communal kitchen, which we are upgrading in the next several years. So it will be even more hospitable. Right now, it's not as hospitable as I would like. But since we have residents coming from all over the place, it is kind of the place where people get to know each other. So we provide these formal programs, but we also see ourselves as the hosts. We are providing care and hospitality, and we keep an eye on all of the residents. And this is one of my favorite facts to tell our sponsors, such as Françoise Pousse and Edward Steichen Award Luxembourg. At our weekly staff meetings, we actually do name all of the residents, and the staff shares information about how everyone's doing. So behind the scenes, we are checking in with each other staff-wise about how every resident is. And if somebody hasn't been around in a while, because these are adults, they are not, these are not emerging artists. They are generally late emerging and mid-career. If someone hasn't been around, we check on them and we say, how are you? Are you okay? So if people are sick and they haven't told us, we find out about that. I want to mention as well that we were the founders of something called the Rethinking Residencies group. There are many arts residency programs in New York City. I can't remember how many, but over 50, I think, is the number. We are one of the oldest, and we are the largest actually in the country. And so we formed this group with other residency programs to share best practices, learn what other people are doing. During COVID, we actually did fundraising on behalf of the whole group, and it absolutely helped us survive through that very difficult time. We also organized a symposium with them, and I want to plug the book that we did, which is available free online. It's called Bringing Worlds Together, a Rethinking Residencies Reader, and it has many, many essays all about international and local arts residency programs, including some in Europe as well. And I guess I want to stress one thing before I go to the third slide. Actually, yes, you can go to the third slide, please. As you can see, we have many alums. This is a list of our alums from our years of collaboration. The thing that is probably what people come into the program thinking is going to happen and what they leave with, maybe Nika can confirm this when she speaks, is the connections between the artists in residence is also an extremely important after effect. Because New York City is, as we've discussed, while it is, yes, it's a very, very exciting and busy and stimulating art environment, it also can be quite daunting. And it can be difficult to make contacts, to introduce oneself, to go, to be bold, to I always encourage residents to act like New Yorkers. And I say, be socially aggressive. It's not in the nature of many people that come from outside are usually far more polite than New Yorkers are. So we encourage residents to do this, but there's strength in numbers. So residents do band together and go do things together. So the connections that are formed between the residents as an after effect is also palpable because we often see shows coming from one part of the world to another, which we know was germinated at ISCP. So I just want to thank Françoise Pousse and Christina Duhl for your collaboration, which is so fruitful for all of us. And I look forward to hearing Nika and hosting Mariana.
Well, thank you so much for that lovely background. And I think socially aggressive is my phrase of the day. So did you become socially aggressive, Nika, when you were there?
I am already. No. I remember Susan saying that to us as well before the open studios. And it was like, be aggressive. And we just looked at each other and was like, yeah, no, we're just going to be our cute, mysterious Europeans as we are. No.
So how was your time there?
It was amazing, of course. I mean, I cannot lie about that. It was, the residency was really inspiring. And like Susan said, I think for me, the most important was actually the connection between the residents. I thought it was very special that there were like equally amounts of curators present as artists. That was the first time I was ever at the residency where that was the case, because we could really exchange about future projects and not just like our practices as I'm used to.
So it's really developing a network for life.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we had a good time.
And then do you also think being present in New York, which has a completely different atmosphere to the various cities that you live in, and I know you live in Luxembourg, Berlin and Rotterdam and probably other places as well, how did it make you think? How did it change your mindset when it comes to the type of art that you do?
Well, I think some artists go there and they don't produce much because there is so much to do. And in the beginning, I did the same. I went sometimes twice a day to a show or 3 times a day just to see as much as I could. And then, but after some time, I just need to make something. It's just, I have this urge to produce something. So I was spent almost a month just in the studio. But by then I met a curator and we planned on a show. So I had to also make something. But I don't know.
So that mix of having a curator with you, and when you form a collaboration, that also pushes you to produce something in a positive way.
Yeah. I mean, I had something in mind what I wanted to do. I really wanted to use the time to work on my visual language during that time. So I made a lot of sketches, and I loved doing that because finally I had the time to just lock myself in and do that. Because usually you're just in a loop of, producing for shows and you barely get out of that. And that was, I think, my biggest gift for the residency, to just do that, to plan it and to make it happen. And the collaboration with the curator was just matching so well because his set of mind is a bit similar. He was just like, let's see what happens. It could be a process. It doesn't need to be a finished, finalized work. And that's what we did.
And you talked about locking yourself into the studio. Now, tell us about the big box you had behind the door.
No, well, for open studios, you have the choice to just leave it as it is. You have things lying around and you just leave them there. But somehow, because I made like different prototypes, I really wanted to have a bit of a clean show. So I just made a big cardboard box behind the door where
image.
Well,
if
sorry?
you go to the next image shows your studio.
Oh yeah, but there you don't see a box.
Okay,
the problematic fountain is visible there.
Talk to us about this. What is the problematic fountain?
Well, Susan, well, there were a couple of difficulties with my prototypes. One was I wanted to make kind of a dying fountain, a self-sustainable dying fountain made out of ice and fire. So I think, it produces electricity through temperature difference. So I had like a stack of ice that I made in the kitchen. And I had like this lamp, an oil lamp that I got. And I made a whole fountain out of it. But the problem is whole ISCP is made out of wood. And for fire safety reasons, it was a bit of an extended discussion, let's put it that way. And at the end, I did not put it on. It was just kind of melting away. But then there was an additional problem coming along, that the water was sometimes getting onto the floor. And ISCP has like, below is immediately another studio, so it was leaking into the other studio. So it was a bit of a domino of problems.
And why has this picture in particular been chosen to demonstrate here? Well, moving on from that then, let's come back to Luxembourg, because I know I'm going to move to you, Anua, as the director of Neumünster. There's residencies there as well, and perhaps you'd like to talk to us about this.
So this is Neumünster is an old abbey from the 17th century, and then it became a prison in the 19th century. And since 2004, it's a cultural center, and we have a residency program that I will present to you. And Françoise is also our chairwoman. So she has two, hats. So then it's me who I am. So I'm the director, and I have an experience here in Luxembourg, but also in Austria. But the most important part is the next slide. So we have a mission so we are located in the center of Luxembourg City. for those who don't know it. And I have to see what we wrote down. And as what I said before, and we have missions to accomplish, and we have 4 parts. So culture and arts, corporate events, artist residencies, and heritage and tourism. And now we're focusing on artist residencies in this panel discussion. So what we provide for artists is a working space, is a studio, but we provide also a sleeping opportunity. They sleep at our place and they can work also there. They have they can count on a support, a technical support. They can count on other types of support, the support that they need. And also we provide also financial resources. And we don't do that when the partner that we have for a specific residency takes this part, because it's very important for us that all artists who works in our space has also a grant to work in it, and also material support. So these are the numbers for this year, for 2004. So we always try to have a quality in women and men. So now we are. It's the first year in my time when we have had more men than women, but only 21 to 19. We have at the actual moment an artist, associated artist. It's an artist of a performance. So she's not a contemporary art, not a visual artist, but she's in the field of theater. And what we do the most are visual arts and performing arts, but we also do music with some jazz residencies and jazz programs, and literature with some partners. We don't do residencies in literature without a partner, because we notice that the artists want a publication at the end, and it's not always possible. So we have 8 studios and 15 apartments. So they are also used by other venues in Luxembourg who have also residencies, or who have a piece that they want to invite, and they invite artists, so they sleep at our place. I don't know. So these are the 4 types of residencies. We have many in the research. So we don't only offer the possibility to do a residency and to be in a creation process, but also at the beginning, very beginning, for a research, not even knowing what the artist wants to do, but only having an idea. And sometimes it changes completely, and then the artist does something completely different. Then we are in residencies, also in a creation process, in the beginning, at the middle, or at the end, and then we present the work. We have what we call, within the cultural outreach, residencies, which focus on the work with the community, or with schools, or residencies of artists who go to schools and who do their residency there, and also in Münster. And the associated artist, who is now Larissa Faber. So there are 4 types of residencies. The curatorial residencies, these are residencies, for example, our jazz residency in January, but also in the contemporary art, where we go and we ask an artist to be resident in our space. This was the case, for example, for Clio Van Erde, who is here. We asked her, do you want to do a residency in our venue? This happens. These are the curatorial residency, where the artists are chosen. Then we have proposals from partner institutions. This is the residency that we have actually with the European Investment Bank. We have here 4 of the artists sitting in here in our audience. Thank you for being here. These are proposals. We have a partnership with Wallonie Bruxelles International with Belgium, and also this residency that I talked about now. And this is something that I would like to expand, and I would like to develop and to to have other partners and other partnerships with an international audience. I hope that some people will think it could be interesting to be a partner of Neumünster. Then we have some tailor-made residencies where we have to adapt to the artist because of the work of the artist, because of a cross discipline work, or many artists who want to work together, and then we adapt. And then calls of applications. We had last year, for example, a call. We have every year some calls, and last year we had a call, and Marianne Villiers was one of them who had a very interesting project, and we knew that we have to have that project, and I think you will talk about it. So as you see, there are these 4 types, and 4 in contemporary art. And it depends on the work, and depends on the artist, and it depends also on the time, because if you want to have a residency in Neumünster in spring, for example, normally you are you answer to a call of application normally, because it's the time where the artists are who are in this area. So this is everything. And the last slide, it's Marianne Villiers in her working in her studio. So Marianne, I have to say something about you. Marianne was a very interesting artist for us, because she went out of her studio, and it was one of the first times that an artist in residency went out of her studio, and she worked everywhere in this very beautiful place, which is Neumünster, because the place is very important in our residency. It's very important because it's really, you have this quietness, you have this you have this heritage, you have the power of the stones, you have this also the power of this. It was also an awful place when it was a prison. So you have all this, and also the spirituality of the abbey. So you have all this. And normally the artists stay in their studio, but Marianne decided to work everywhere. So when I talked yesterday to my team and I asked them, what do you remember from Marianne? Everyone was so happy to talk about you, because they told me, when she was working there, you were everywhere. And this could also be a residency in Neumünster. So now the 4 of you are here. You didn't know that. Now you know it. You can work everywhere. So this is what I had to say.
Thank you so much for putting on the map Neumünster, and thank you for being present, the artists. Put your hands up. Who are the artists? I can see. I guessed so. I thought you were. And also, as you've alluded to, we have Cleo van Erde in the audience in her lovely mustard sweater. And of course, Cleo will be joining Marianne with you, Susan, in New York next year. So we have both of the artists here present who won their award just a few weeks ago. Well, Marianne, we have to turn to you. I know this is not where you like to be, on a stage in front of everybody. You like to be amongst people, walking out with cotton banners, saying wonderful things in French or such like. But let's start with what you've brought along and why it means something to you. You have a little a piece of art.
Yes, because I'm not in my comfort zone. I was thinking maybe if I come with an object who is like a perspective, or I don't know how to say, but an horizon or for the future. Because maybe in New York, I would like to work on civil disobedience and to do some research about aesthetic and practice of civil disobedience. And Trump was elected, and I think the life in New York will be very interesting in a reaction to that political context. And so I bring this object. It's just a prototype, and it's just a try. So it's a megaphone, but made on glass blowing. And it's like, the megaphone is made to push the sound out and spread the word and, express yourself to others. And with this object, with this technique, the air, the voice stayed inside, and it's made by this energy of voice, of breathing.
Breath.
So the breath is kept inside, and so I'm just thinking about creating some objects related to protest, to civil disobedience, but in a poetic way, and to create some reflections, like say, about that.
Yeah, because from what I saw of your work, and I know everybody here knows about your work on the panel at the very least, also in the audience, you create communities around your work, and your work involves the voice of others so often, if not the voice, at least the thoughts of others, and sometimes the actions of others as well. So you really involving other people is part of the art I've seen you do.
And it's maybe a common point between Luxembourg and New York. Neumünster, for example, for instance, it's also a meeting place about encounters. It's called Centre de Rencontre. And so if I heard well, Nika as well, and you, Suzanne, is also the place in New York to meet others and to create opportunity. And but more than that, I like to meet someone by chance. I'm not so much into networking, but more into surprise and
interactions.
spontaneously, yes.
So I want to bring the conversation back. We've got about 30 minutes left, and I definitely want to ask the audience, if you have any questions, just raise your hand and I'll bring you in. And please do now. I'll keep an eye out if anyone has questions as well.
And maybe I would like to invite Cleo to come to my sit, and maybe she wants to say something also.
Cleo, you have been given an invitation by
Exactly.
Marianne.
That's what I've been thinking too.
Well, Cleo,
So they had told us we can only have
five. Oh, well, thank you. So this is Cleo. So Susan, you get to meet both at once. So Cleo, why don't you introduce yourself? Cleo van Erde, she is also the prize winner this year and will go to New York next year and overlap with Marianne.
Yeah, so I will join her in September. Yes, I'm a performance artist and a scenographer, and I work a lot around the body awareness and space awareness, and also with duration and endurance, and with how social constructs influence or shape me or society in general.
And what are you looking forward to in New York?
Well, when Marianne said I'm not so much into networking, I guess I also really like coincidences and meeting people spontaneously and just see what happens on the run. And also, I think I really also just want to get there and absorb a lot of things and see a lot of things also as Nika said. I feel like that's a good way of actually starting and getting into this mood and atmosphere of what New York is.
Well, it sounds like that's exactly what Nika explained. And I'm quite sure, Susan, you can tell us what is the average time spent by an artist or a curator who comes to this city. I don't know which countries they come from, but you said you have 100 per year. So I imagine they come from all sorts of places all around the world. New York is a very big city. It might be difficult for them to just even sleep with the noise and the lights for a while. I can say that for sure because I moved from Ireland to London when I was 10 and it was quite hard to sleep because of the noise and the lights for a while. But also the spontaneous interaction. So two things I'd like you to talk to us about. The spontaneous interaction that is just naturally there because of the people you have from all over the world. And also that time they take just to absorb the city and think about the research they will go on to produce in an artistic manner.
Well, we set up as many opportunities for we have the visiting critics that are one-on-one. This is a very, organized possibility to connect. But in terms of networking, there are some residents who choose to network. There are many who do not like to network. So the spontaneity of making contacts is something that we set up opportunities for as much as possible. So the field trips are one situation. The social gatherings are another. Third Thursdays, we take people out to openings. And I guess what I would say is when I use the word socially aggressive, that is the equivalent of the spontaneous behavior of daring to go up to somebody and saying, I am so-and-so, sticking your hand out and shaking the hand. So that spontaneity does take a little bit of a leap. And so we encourage that little bit of a leap. And then, I think that the connections, again, the introductions between residents, that happens very organically in the kitchen when somebody's saying, can you hand me the cup, or could I have,
or can you move that huge piece of
your dishes?
Oh yes, or I was thinking about the ice in the kitchen that may have happened in Nika's time.
The freezer, yeah. So there is many opportunities for spontaneity and introductions. And you said how much time is spent in the studio.
No, actually, I meant more just both Marianne and Nika were talking about the time they took at the beginning to absorb the city and to absorb all that was going on in order to feed their research.
Well, we do, as I said, we don't force anyone to produce except if it's at open studios. And Nika was there during open studios as well. So that is up to the artist or the curator if they choose what they choose to do in their studio for open studios. Some there's very little, some there's, full on sort of exhibition. So that is the only time that anyone's forced to. So the absorption of what's happening in New York, I hear all the time. I walk into the lounge and there are artists having lunch and I say, oh, how's everyone doing? And they say, great. And then somebody will say, yeah, I went to such and such opening last night. Oh, it's great. And somebody says, oh, I was at blah, blah, and I was at this. And then people almost invariably get upset when they realize that there is so much happening that they have to miss also. And that is just the nature of the beast of living in New York. There's always a lot happening. And so, if you plan your talk on the same night as an opening, people are making decisions. So there's almost nothing that is a mob scene. And there's always a lot of things to do during the day and the evening.
Nika,
so people find what they are interested in, and we help guide them to what they are interested in. And I have to mention to Marianne, there is something called the Disobedience Archive. Do you know about that? I have never been to it, but it is apparently amazing. And it was in the front area of the main exhibition of the Venice Biennale. And it's in Brooklyn, and I have never been to it. Disobedience Archive.
Okay, so Marianne, you have a first to do there, the Disobedience Archive in Brooklyn. That's on the list.
Super nice. And actually, Edward Steichen, I think, was working also about some gesture in this, but I have to check also. Someone sent me just the article a few days ago, so I didn't. It's in English, so I have to work also to...
Right, what's the article about?
I need to check. I will tell you later. He sent me, but it's like maybe 4 different articles about Edward Steichen in this perspective of civil disobedience. He told me, but maybe it's some part specifically in the article, maybe not the full article. I don't know.
Any questions from the floor? This is the post-lunch lull. Not for you, Susan, over there in New York. Well, bringing it back to something that Anua mentioned before we began this show, what do you feel is the situation for contemporary artists today? Is it a good, again, Susan, what are your views? Is it a good scene? Is it a vibrant scene? Is it a burgeoning scene? Are there difficulties for contemporary artists?
So, of course, it's a vibrant scene, and every day you discover something new. What the challenges are of course financial challenges, and this is something that we see in our place, in our venue. We see it in when we have the artist working at our place. We offer a working space. We offer the support, but the artist is outside of his or her comfort zone, outside of her studio, outside of her safe space or his safe space, and comes into a space which is not really an exhibition space, but it's something in between. And this is a challenge that I see for the artists, and it would be interesting to talk to you, to ask if you experience it as I experience it for you. I experience it as a challenge to be something in the middle and not to be nor one nor the other. And this is the dichotomy that we were talking about. And I think it's one of the biggest challenges for contemporary art is also this pressure of selling, this pressure of presenting himself or herself, and this is something difficult also for us as a residency place, because we would like to be the best safe space ever, but it's not possible. And I see it when I see the stress in some eyes of some artists who have worked in Münster, knowing that someone is coming, or some people, the directors of some institutions coming, and then they change the whole studio, and suddenly it becomes a gallery, and it's not exactly what the director wanted to see, of course.
So
But
let's just open up.
this dichotomy is something that we experience a lot.
So let's open up that question then, which is the dichotomy, as you say, of using a residency space both as a studio space, but also as an exhibiting space for the work that you're creating, so that passers-by can see what you're doing. So it's almost like a working gallery. Nika, what do you think?
Yes.
Did you find it stressful? Because we were just, I was just saying it's stressful. It can be stressful.
I don't know. I think as soon as you start making works, it's part of your everyday. So it wasn't stressing me out more than usually. I mean, it always stresses me out. Let's put it that way. But it's not much different there, I think. And especially if you have all the other artists there, it's not the same pressure as if you would have a solo show or something like that, I think. So it's just like in other, I mean, even if you do a master or a bachelor in any kind of art institution, there is always the moment where you open up your doors and people come and see. It's maybe a little bit more advanced, a bit different, but ultimately the pressure is always
then
there.
In a space as large as yours in New York, with everyone else around, you can get used to that stress and live with it in a better way and become more confident about it. Susan?
Well, they do have privacy. The doors can be closed, and we do when the public comes to. We are open to the public 10:30 to 5:30 every weekday. We tell people if a door is closed, please do not knock on the door. Basically, if you have an appointment, that's another story. So we understand that the studio is a kind of an inner sanctum that we need to protect. On the other hand, we also encourage that ability to have discourse and dialogue that may be spontaneous, as we were saying before, and to seize that moment. And I would also say that an artist being able to talk about their work is something that, while it's not mandatory, certainly it is a benefit. And to be able to articulate and be open with a stranger to talk about your work it's a strength. It's something to develop. It's a skill that is helpful to you as an artist. And also, to take a even more philosophical stance, I do see artists as a very important part of civil society, and their voices are very important. And so, yes, you could say, well, my art speaks. I don't have to. But I think being able to talk about one's work is important. Whether to be able to sell or hawk one's work as a salesperson gets very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Not for everybody. There are plenty of artists that can do that too. So I think there's a big array of people that behave different ways. But the market in New York is very, very different from the market in many European cities. And so American artists are very accustomed to being forced into that position, whereas many Europeans are not.
That's a
And
very interesting
have
difference.
the incredible privilege of not necessarily having to ever do that, which I would say hold on to that too, if you can.
That's a very, yeah. Oh, Françoise.
Yes, well, I think that's very important what you said, and there's a difference about learning how to speak about your work as an artist, and of course selling your artwork. But for the first part, it is such an important skill to have to know how to speak about what you're doing, and also in that sense to take this chance to have a voice, to explain to people who come and see you what your work is about, how you are working, because so many people don't know how artists are working. And so even the process is important to explain. And then create this community around the work that you're doing. And this is a very important skill. I often notice, and that's one of the reasons we started doing this planning these residencies, is very often, and especially 20 years ago here in Luxembourg, most of the artists, they were working in their bubble. And they were very comfortable somewhere in their bubble and not going outside to the real world. They would either sell at that time it would probably be mostly paintings or sculptures. They would sell them or not. Most of them would probably have a day job as well. But with the professionalization of artists, you also need to acquire the skills that go with mastering your work, and talking about your art is a very important skill. And that's why we like sending these very talented artists to New York, to also get them a bit out of their comfort zone, because it's only like that you are learning new skills as well.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah. Anyway.
I would like to complete also talking about Marianne's works, for example, in Münster, was exactly like that. She went to the people to explain her work, to put her artistic gestures everywhere, and also to build a community also with people of Grund. It's the place where Münster is. And this was really interesting for me. I was talking with the panel discussion. What you did, for example, was our workers. We have people in Münster who work with the artists, who have these curatorial skills, etc. But we have also normal people working in Münster who are workers, who have a technical work and who are not so confronted to the artist normally. But with Marianne, she was one of the first ones who they talk and still talk about her, because you decided to explain your work also to them, and this was one of the most beautiful experiences that we ever had, because of this interaction, and not that we are bringing the work to the people, but not the opposite. The people are not coming to us, but we are bringing the work. So it's what you did. And this was really interesting. And this is something important, but it's also something, as you said before, you put the artist out of her or his comfort zone, and this is also the place of the residency. And sometimes it's stressful, as we said. And when I compare, as you said before, the American artists and the European artists, this is something that we see. It's clearly there is a difference by talking about the work and also to presenting himself or herself.
Well, Nika, I think you want to add to this.
Maybe something small. No, when I said that it was interesting to have 50% like curators and the other half artists, was actually exactly that fact that if we would go out, and also we met later in Venice again with a couple of them. It was quite nice because I'm not used to going up to someone like, hey, I'm the artist, I made this, what do you think? But so because we made friends with half of the crew being curators, if we would go somewhere, they would be like, this is Nika. I love her work. She makes amazing kinetic sculptures, and you just sit there.
They are
I
your
love that,
mouthpiece.
it's like you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a cool mix of actually befriending people. Also, curators from Norway or wherever. France.
Which is also amazing because your work can then spread.
Yeah.
Nika, are you talking about Kjersti Solbakken, Lofoten?
No. The
Håkon. Lillegraven.
Yeah. Håkon.
Right.
Yeah.
He now works at the National Museum in Oslo.
Yeah, we are still in contact, and he's in New York right now, I think, even.
So you managed to get great context for the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure.
And great holiday destinations.
Actually, can I just found a very brief text from this book I was talking about on the subject of what we're saying. Can I just briefly read it?
Of course.
Okay. The residencies as temporary laboratories of serendipitous encounters, the chance encounter, amplifying in the acoustic sense the possibility of the chance encounter, of play and chance, to take advantage of wandering, conversing, snooping, to understand everything as something newly discovered, the porous surface of the whole body in a perceptive, absorbing state, extrapolated, heightened senses, awakened to see, hear with all the senses, letting ourselves be moved and amazed. This is a text about being in a residency.
That is perfect. I think that is a really perfect summary from the panel, but I really would love a question from the floor. Has anybody got a question? Oh, Vincent, you yourself were going to be the microphone man. Do ask a question.
Thank you. It's more of a comment, actually, but I think ISCP is very interesting because you have half of artists and half of curators, and it really shows the importance of these two, like essential members of an ecosystem. And I think that it's a comment because I work here in Luxembourg, and I think there's a lack of curators in some programs that we have here. And I think you're a good example of how the scene could change and grow. That's all I have to say.
Well, I think it's literally walking along the line of the interdisciplinary nature of bringing people together so that new ideas are formed, and everything in life seems to be moving towards interdisciplinary work. Any other thoughts from the floor? Well, then I give the final comments to our panel. So, Susan, would you like to give us any final thoughts?
Yes, I would say that despite our incoming president, which is extremely upsetting to pretty much everyone in New York City, not everyone, but many people, New York continues to be an international metropolis. And but in the coming 4 years, yes, I think art's role is, I don't want to instrumentalize artists and say they need to be political, but being a communicator, and if you are making work that has anything to do with politics, and Marianne, this glass megaphone sounds perfect. We need to be strong. We need to, and I am as director need to protect the environment that nurtures the artists. So we art people though need to speak up, and we need to play a role in society.
Thank you very much, Susan. Françoise, would you like to add any thoughts?
Yes, so, it's been a great panel, I think, but I also wanted to say tomorrow morning there is, so residencies have been an important topic for the government policy here in Luxembourg. So the Ministry of Culture is organizing tomorrow morning a workshop on artist residencies, and I will try to find a copy of your book online. So it's
I'll send you the link by email.
That would be great, because I will take the book and the reflections to the workshop tomorrow.
Was this timing planned?
Well, you know.
Are you working a little bit of magic behind the scenes? I think you are. I think we need to thank Françoise for all the work she does. Let's give her a round of applause, because actually for Luxembourg, she works very, very hard. I don't think there's much accident in this combination of timings. Thank you, Françoise.
Thank you.
Alua, any thoughts? Final thoughts?
Final thoughts. So this workshop that Françoise is talking about is in Münster tomorrow at 9. So you can
Gosh,
come to
it's as if I
the place
planned
that I was
it.
talking all the time. And Françoise is the chairwoman, so this is why it's everything.
Everything is connected.
Just a very small group.
What was really interesting for me in this panel discussion was, of course, to know you, Susan, about and to talk about ISCP, this part of the curators, and also what Vincent said. Because, for example, in Münster, we have never had curators in residency, never. So we have had only artists, and it's true that we could expand that and we could develop the program in this direction. We wanted to do it one day, but it wasn't possible because it didn't work with an European subsidy that we wanted to have for that. But even though, we abandoned that, and then we decided not to do it. But we should rethink about it, because you are right. It's important, and it's an ecosystem that has many sides. And it could be also very interesting for the artists to have a curator on the next door. As Nika said, it was really funny, but at the same time, it was really true that it's easier to have an artist talking about, a curator talking about your work. It's also because the curator knows how to talk about it, etc., and has had exchanges with you before that, and so I will think about it and how to introduce it. So thank you, Vincent, and also thank you, Susan, and everyone who talked about it.
And the
Very
final,
important for me.
the final word goes to the artists. Nika? Okay. I think you should give us a line about your art and why people should buy it, given where we are.
Okay.
I'm sure you learned some of this social aggression in New York.
I mean, I can just say that the experience was very fruitful, and the connections with the artists has really changed my perspective on my own work, especially, as I said, working together closely with curators and having very intimate discussions. I managed to get like more of an outside perspective on my practice that was necessary, and I'm still working on things and topics that I was starting over there. A little update on the fountain. I made a worse work and that exploded. So happily that was not there. I made magnesium.
I'm glad we didn't show that.
I decided to have magnesium explosions, it's the old way to make a flash in photography. And, that went wrong, but I'm not giving up. I'm working on it, and I'll come back next year to New York, probably.
I think her next residency needs to be in a chemistry laboratory.
Yeah.
Marianne. Anything you would like to say?
And it was good to see you, Susan. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just excited to come and to see, and also because of the condition, we were speaking about financial issues, and to get this opportunity to not think about money, help us to focus on work and to keep our, let's say, ethos, and just be what we want to do. I don't know what to say.
You be what you want to be and do, and just create.
To feel more free.
Yes. Cleo, since we have you.
I think I'm also mostly looking forward about having the space and the time to really just focus on that and on the process. And I'm I'm excited, and I'm also very happy to meet Susan then also in September. And
Well, thank you so much, Claire. Have you anything upcoming that people should visit?
I have a premiere this Saturday at 3CL.
Okay, so
It's part of the hors circuit.
so what time is your premiere?
So it's a double bill. So first it's another show by Aurore Gruel, and then it's me at, I suppose, around 8.
Around 8 p.m.
Yes.
Okay, so you have plenty of time to visit the artists this weekend at Neumünster, open residencies. They will talk about their work. Then you can go on to see Cleo in action in the evening. However, tonight you will go and visit Marianne's exhibition in Vedanza, which is it starts at 6 p.m. tonight. 6 p.m. tonight. And where can we see your work, Nika?
There's a little work at Cercle outside
Cité?
at the box.
So they can literally walk from your work to Vedanza tonight, because those roads are in very close proximity. Thank you, Susan. Thank you so much for your time this morning from New York. We wish you all the best, and we're sending 2 great artists your way for next year. And I know Nika had a wonderful time there as well. And of course, we wish Françoise and of course you in Neumünster hosting the ministers for the discussion tomorrow on residencies. I'm sure you'll be fabulous. And thank you, please, to all of our panelists.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
The Luxembourg Art Week team thanks the speakers and partners for their commitment to the Art Talk program of the 10th edition. The next edition of the fair will take place from November 21st to November 23rd, 2025. Join us for a new series of captivating conferences and conversation about art, live at the Glacis, and available for replay after the fair.